Welcome back to Shadows of Truth. Today we're diving into a case that's really stuck with me, and I think it's stuck with a lot of people out there, the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse.
It's a case that really grabs you.
It does. Imagine you're living your life, just a normal life, a young finance manager in Orlando, Florida, close to
hmm
your family, planning a trip to see them that weekend, and then just like that, you're gone, no trace.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Jennifer in January of 2006.
Yeah, it's like someone just hit the off switch on her life. 1 minute, everything is normal. The next, she's gone. It really is unsettling.
Yeah, I mean, the last anyone heard from Jennifer was a phone call with her parents
Right.
around 10 p.m. on January 23rd.
hmm
Sounded totally normal,
hmm
right? No indication anything was wrong,
Right.
but then doesn't show up for work the next morning.
Yeah, and that's the first sign something is really wrong. I mean, it was totally out of character for her.
Right.
And then her car is found at her apartment complex. So at first you think, okay, maybe she's nearby, but her purse, her cell phone, all her belongings are still inside. It's just as though she stepped out for just a second and then vanished.
Yeah, and that's what makes this case so baffling, right?
Hmm.
There's a huge investigation. I mean, they searched her apartment, the whole surrounding area, but nothing. No
Yeah.
forced entry, no signs of a struggle. There's just zero clues to go on.
Right. And, the lack of those things, like the forced entry, the signs of a struggle, that sometimes is even more confusing for investigators
Right.
because it just throws all their initial assumptions out the window.
So where do you even start with a case like that?
Well, it's all about the details, right? And in this case, there's that surveillance footage. It's grainy and you can barely see the person, but you can see a figure in a hoodie walking towards Jennifer's car in the parking lot. That's the only real lead they have.
Yeah, it's got to be so frustrating. You have this potential clue, but you can't even make out who the person is.
Exactly.
I mean, what do you think? Does the footage tell us anything about this person? Was it someone Jennifer knew? Could it have been a complete stranger?
Well, unfortunately, because of the quality of the footage, we just don't know for sure. And that makes it even more difficult to figure out what happened.
Right.
Investigators have looked at a lot of different scenarios, everything from a planned abduction to maybe just a chance encounter gone wrong.
hmm
But without knowing who that person is, it's really hard to know where to focus.
Yeah, and I can't imagine what Jennifer's family has gone through.
Yeah.
Not knowing who that person is or if they were involved in her disappearance. It's like having one puzzle piece and no idea where it fits.
It's true that not knowing, that can be one of the hardest things to deal with in these cases.
Okay, so let's dive into some of those scenarios you mentioned. Like, let's start with the abduction theory. Why would investigators think that was a strong possibility?
Well, think about it. Jennifer's car was left behind, and all her stuff was still inside. If someone's running away, just taking off on their own, they usually take their car and they take the things they need.
Right.
Leaving the car, especially if it was planned, that's really unusual.
Almost like whoever took her wanted to make it look like she left voluntarily.
It's possible, but then why not take the car, too? It doesn't completely add up.
That is strange, right? It just adds to the whole mystery.
Okay.
Okay, so what about other theories? Like, what about a random attack?
Well, you always have to consider that possibility, but you also have to look at the statistics. Sadly, random abductions are actually pretty rare, and there are some things about Jennifer's case that just don't quite fit the usual pattern of a random attack.
Yeah, like what?
Well, she disappeared during the day from a place that seemed pretty safe. That doesn't really match what we usually see in random attacks.
So if it wasn't random, I mean, could there be some motive that we just haven't thought of yet?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we're working with limited information here. There might be details we just don't know, maybe relationships, events that could point to a motive.
Yeah, it really is like reading a book with half the pages ripped out. You can guess, but you don't really know the full story.
That's a great way to put it, and that's why it's so important to look at every angle and consider every possibility. We tend to focus on the theories that seem the most dramatic or sensational, but sometimes the answer is in some little detail that everyone overlooked at first.
And that's where someone like you comes in, right?
Right?
To help make sense of all those clues.
Exactly. You've got to use your experience, understanding how criminals behave, and think critically to try and put those pieces together. And in a case like Jennifer's, where there's so many unanswered questions, it's a real challenge, but it's also what keeps us looking for those answers. It's a case that just keeps you thinking.
It really does. And, speaking of searching for those answers, Jennifer's family has been incredible.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, they've worked so hard to keep this case in the public eye. What kinds of things have they done to keep the search for Jennifer going all these years?
Well, their dedication is amazing. I mean, they've got a whole website dedicated to her case. They're super active on social media. They do interviews, documentaries, you name it. They're just determined to keep Jennifer's story out there and, hopefully to get some new leads.
Yeah, it's just so inspiring. They've taken this horrible tragedy and turned it into action. They're not just sitting around waiting for answers. They're out there looking for them.
Right, exactly. And their efforts have made a real difference. I mean, Jennifer's case is still something people talk about, and that's so important, especially with cold cases. You just never know. Someone might remember something, even a little detail that could break the case wide open.
Yeah, it really shows you how powerful hope and determination can be,
Mm-hmm.
even in the face of something so awful.
For sure. But, while we all hope for that happy ending, the truth is that the more time that passes, the less likely it is that we'll find Jennifer safe and sound. It's hard to face that, but it's the reality.
Yeah, it is. So what happens as time goes on? Does the investigation just end at some point?
Technically, no. A case like this stays open, but the way it's investigated does change. As more time passes, the investigation becomes more reactive.
So what does that mean exactly?
Well, basically, unless some new information comes up, a new witness or some evidence, the case file just kind of sits there.
Oh,
They might look at it again every now and then, but it's not the same level of intensity as when it first happened, which is really hard for families.
yeah, that's got to be so frustrating for them to know that things are slowing down, even if it's never officially closed.
Yeah, but even when those active investigations slow down, there are people out there who are still working on cold cases, trying to find answers. Some are investigators, some are just volunteers, but they haven't forgotten.
That's good to know. It's kind of comforting to think that someone's still out there looking for answers.
Right, and that's why it's so important to keep cases like Jennifer's in the public eye. The more people know about it, the better the chances that someone, somewhere, might have that missing piece of the puzzle.
So if someone out there listening right now, if they think they have information about Jennifer's case, what should they do? Where should they go?
Well, that's a great question, and it's important to remember that even something that seems small or unimportant could actually be really helpful. So if you have anything, you can contact the Orlando Police Department directly, or you can get in touch with the Kesse family through their website or their social media. They've got ways to submit tips anonymously, too.
It's pretty amazing how much technology has changed things. Families like the Kesses can actually be really involved in searching for their loved ones. They've got a voice. They can reach so many people.
That's so true. It doesn't take away the pain of losing someone, but it does give them a way to do something, to channel their grief into action. And by doing that, they keep Jennifer's memory alive and they inspire other people and they never give up hope.
And that's really what it comes down to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hope. Even with a mystery like this, it's hope that keeps us searching and believing that someday the truth will come out.
Exactly. Hope and never giving up and believing that even in the darkest mysteries, there's always a chance for the truth to come to light.
Jennifer's case really shows us that these things, these disappearances, they don't just happen in the movies.
Right.
They can happen anywhere to anyone.
It makes you think. It's a reminder to be careful, be aware of what's going on around you, and look out for each other.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot in our deep dive into Jennifer's case. What's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this?
I think it's the power of never giving up hope and never giving up the fight. Jennifer's family is a perfect example of that. They never stop searching for answers, and they've inspired so many people along the way. It
Yeah.
really shows the strength of the human spirit, even when things are incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and it reminds us that even in the coldest of cases, there's always that possibility, that glimmer of hope, that one day we'll find out what happened.
And it's that hope that keeps investigators going and keeps families like Jennifer's fighting for justice and keeps all of us interested in these mysteries, trying to find answers along with them.
Jennifer Kesse's story is a mystery with so many missing pieces. It's a story without an ending, but it's a story that needs to be told, that needs to be remembered. And maybe, just maybe, someone listening right now has that one piece of information, that key to solving the mystery of what happened to her.
Yeah, maybe they do. And if they do, please come forward. Tell what you know, even if you think it's not important. Every little bit of information, every lead brings us closer to finding Jennifer and bringing some peace to her family.
So, to our listeners, what do you think happened to Jennifer Kesse? Keep her story alive, tell other people about it, and never stop searching for answers. Because sometimes, even the smallest bit of hope can lead us to the truth. It's cases like this that really make you think about how quickly things can change.
It's true. One minute, everything's normal. The next, your whole world is turned upside down. Jennifer's story is a powerful reminder that these mysteries, these disappearances, they happen in real life, not just in movies or TV shows.
It's a scary thought, but it's also a reminder to be thankful for what we have and to cherish the people in our lives.
Exactly. And, we've seen incredible strength from Jennifer's family, the way they've rallied and how they've brought people together to help search for answers. It shows you the power of community and support.
Yeah, it's inspiring to see how people come together, even in the face of something so tragic. It speaks to that basic human need for justice, for closure.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Jennifer Kesse's case, what's the one message you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
Never give up hope. It might be a long road, but it's important to keep Jennifer's memory alive, keep talking about her case, and if anyone out there has any information, no matter how small, please come forward. Even after all these years, there's still a chance for a breakthrough.
That's so important. And remember, everyone, you can find out more about Jennifer's case on the website her family created, and they're on social media too. Every time you share her story, every conversation you have about it, it helps keep the search alive.
That's right. And maybe, just maybe, someone listening right now has that one missing piece that could finally bring Jennifer home.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Jennifer Kesse case. If you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and tell us what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more true crime cases. As always, stay curious and stay safe.